Things are heating up between the United States and Russia. President Trump and Vladimir Putin seem to be going back and forth with some not so nice words towards each other. And you just have to wonder, how close are we to Armageddon? Because we all know we've got two very powerful people in those two positions, and I don't think either one of them are going to back down. As you know, the great peacemaker, President Donald Trump, has been trying to defuse the situation between Russia and Ukraine, but it turns out that seems to be a lot harder than people anticipated. Check it out. Let's get into it.
Trump is lashing out at Russian President Vladimir Putin as Russia steps up its attacks on Ukraine. Trump says the leader has gone, quote, absolutely crazy. Scripps News White House correspondent Haley
Vladimir Putin been crazy. He's always been crazy. This is nothing new under the sun.
is live for us now with the latest. And Haley, this is a different tone perhaps for President Trump to take towards Putin. Why are we seeing these changes now?
Yeah, it certainly is, Andrew. And just earlier today, President Trump accusing Russian President Vladimir Putin of playing with fire, marking some of his most critical language towards the Russian leader to date. Trump notably in a Truth Social post directed his frustration solely to Putin and writing, quote, what Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean, really bad. He's playing with fire. Now, this
I think anytime you get nuclear countries going at it, both sides are playing with fire, because if one of those things gets launched, it's all over for everybody. So I think we're all playing with fire, but how else are you supposed to go about interacting with Vladimir Putin? This guy is just always on the high horse. He's never going to back down.
up of language comes a week after Trump held a phone call with Putin in which he maintained he believed Putin wanted to see the war end. But after over the weekend, he called the Russian leader crazy as Russia continued its bombardment of strikes towards Ukraine.
Now, do you think that's a sign of weakness? Him saying that he's crazy? I mean, is that one of Vladimir's tactics? Is to just seem like he'll do anything? I don't know, but maybe he is a little bit crazy.
The Kremlin chalking up the comments to what they called, quote, emotional overload. Now, Trump's comments over the weekend acknowledged that perhaps Putin does want all of Ukraine, saying it would, quote, lead to the downfall of Russia, but also criticized Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's language. Zelensky has called for more pressure on Russia absent their movement towards a ceasefire. And Trump doubled down on sharing that apparent sense of frustration to reporters on Monday. Listen.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Now, the question, Andrew, is whether this frustration translates to action out of the White House. The White House indicating that all options are on the table. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt telling Scripps News in a statement, quote, this war is Joe Biden's fault. And President Trump has been clear he wants to see a negotiated peace deal. President Trump has also smartly kept all options on the table. Now, Trump said on Monday he is, quote, absolutely.
What does that mean? What are all those options? Because we don't need any American troops stepping in to do anything, But I think for Trump, he might just have to let Ukraine take that L, unfortunately. I don't see him bringing American troops into this, but who knows?
Considering sanctions, something he has floated for some time but hasn't moved forward with and acting on as the administration has tried to engage with Russia. Meanwhile, over in Congress, a Senate bill that would impose sanctions absent Russia's participation in good faith negotiations has now picked up more than 80 co-sponsors, nearly half of them Republican, Andrew. And just last week, when Scripps pressed President Trump if Putin proved to be the obstacle to peace, if further aid for Ukraine would be on the table at that point, Trump said, quote, we'll look. So certainly a markedly different tone towards Putin today, solely at Putin, which is notable as we see how this administration is approaching Russia's war in Ukraine, Andrew.
It just seems like every so often we just have to keep dealing with Vladimir Putin doing something crazy. It's like every few years, it seems like you're getting a break, things are cooling down, and then here comes Vladimir Putin again and the Russian army doing all kinds of crazy stuff. This war's been going on for a long time. A lot of lives have been lost. How long is it going to keep going? This is a perfect example, a prime example on why you should always stay prepared. You should always have at least 3 months food supply saved at all times. Probably should get a bidet in your house, whatever else you can get in there. So in case we get into some crazy sort of warfare or if anything ever reaches American soil, you can be somewhat prepared to live inside your house, boarded up in case, things get really, really bad and we can't go to the stores or who knows, things might be off of the shelves. But in the blink of an eye, I do believe that things can change for the better or for the worse. So let's hope that Trump can pull this off. But as of now, it doesn't seem like he's having any success with ending this war with Russia and Ukraine. We're still right in it. Doesn't seem like Putin is letting off the gas. And now Trump is calling him crazy and saying that he's playing with fire. Who knows what this could get us into? But hey, I'm going to go ahead and trust that that President Trump and his administration know what they're doing. And hey, this is why you got to read books like The Art of War and try to understand maybe some of the tactics that both of them are using. We know that Vladimir Putin was KGB and Trump has had a lot of experience. He was already the president once. I'm sure he's had a lot of very, very high up people give him advice from the United States military. So we will see. But fingers crossed, say some prayers that we don't go down that rabbit hole. We don't go down the wrong path. That could lead to the destruction of everyone because obviously we don't need that. I think it's more likely that Trump would tell us to have an exodus from Ukraine completely and let them handle their own business before he would take us to war. But I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down below. Watch the Unexplained Outlook, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.